I hope you got a general understanding of the financial accounting and its statements on the previous video, part 1. In this video, I'm going to go through the basics of assets, liabilities, and shareholder equity. But before we start with that, I would just like to acknowledge that if your English is your first language, this terms is pretty self-explanatory, but having English as a second language, I can understand that these terms or words can be quite confusing. But let's start with assets. An asset is a resource with economic worth that an individual, corporation, or a country possesses or controls with a hope of future gain. Assets are bought or developed to raise a company's value or benefit its operations, and they are reported on the balance sheet. There are also current and non-current assets. All of a company's assets are expected to be sold or used in the next year as a result of a normal business operation, and they are referred to as current assets. And it could be cash, cash equivalents, account receivable, stock inventory, marketable securities, prepaid liabilities, and other liquid assets are all examples of current assets. Non-current assets, however, are long-term investments that are difficult to convert into cash, or that it's not expected to become cash within the accounting year. It could be stuff like investments, intellectual property, real estate, and equipment, which are examples of non-current assets. To simplify the term asset, think what assets you have. Are they current or not? For example, for an individual like myself, an asset for me would be my cell phone, my computer, and car. Anything that I can convert into cash. But remember, when you sit on an exam, you can be stressed and etc. Therefore, I would suggest this trick to you. So think of an asset as something a business owns, yeah? And we can go to liabilities. So a liability, on the other hand, is a debt that a person or a company owes to another party, usually in a form of money. Liability includes loans, account payable, mortgages, deferred revenues, bonds, warranties, and accumulated expenses, which is all recorded on the balance sheet. And like assets, there are also current and non-current liabilities. To differentiate the two is exactly how it's done for assets. So, obligations that must be settled within the financial year are referred to current liabilities, and non-current liabilities are debts that are unlikely to be paid off within the single fiscal year. Shareholder equity can be thought as a business net worth, but it's the measure of how much company's owners have put into it, either by investing money or keeping earnings over time. Shareholder equity is divided into 3 categories on the balance sheet. It is common shares, preferred shares, and retained earnings. The shareholder equity of a firm can be estimated by subtracting its total liabilities from its total assets, which are both listed on the balance sheet. It is important to remember that the total assets are divided into 2 categories, current and non-current assets. And from the previous video, part 1, I listed the current and the non-current assets as assets for simplicity. And as you all know, the balance sheets follow a double entry accounting method in which a company's total assets are equal to its total liabilities plus shareholder equity. To put this in another way, the total value of all assets will be equal to the entire value of the liability and shareholder equity. So it must balance to be correct. I can understand that there's a lot of new material, terms, etc. But we have to take this one step at a time. Don't worry, follow each video from part 1 onwards, and you might understand sooner or later. I'll try to make the videos more detailed as I progress, but for now I'm simply giving general information about the financial accounting. If you don't understand, please leave a comment and I will try to answer it, or maybe one of our fantastic subscribers can help you out with that. And as always, all our content is available for free and is hosted here on YouTube. Subscribe to get notified whenever a new film is released, and leave a comment in the comment box below, which will give us an opportunity to grow and learn